Let's go. Consider me a big shot. What up to Stevie, Mimi, Scrap, yo? I'm on my love and hip hop. Yes, so solid, it flows through my body. And if you got it, love, I'm told that's where God is. I'm Tyrone Higgins. Whenever love is given to be pragmatic, I'm just an addict for your love. I gotta have it. How my problems disappear when love's connected. I never wanna take back an hour, minute, or second. What a blessing. Love ain't proud, it ain't rude. Love, it rejoices in telling the truth. Love is so patient, kind, it doesn't envy. Love your friends, love your enemies. I hope this love sink in. Got love for my neighbor, agape phileo. Let me be more convincing. Maybe you can dive in and exegete or censor, dissect the scripture where Bishop we show love. Or if you a sinner, transgender like Bruce Jenner, well, Caitlyn, we show more love. We use basic math, don't subtract, divide it. God can take one love, then add or multiply it. Don't wanna swear by it. I promise if you don't have love, your life will be full of the opposite. And that's a big mistake. You trying to demonstrate all love in sync like Justin Timberlake. And that's a big mistake. You trying to demonstrate all love in sync like Justin Timberlake. If it cost $1 million, or if it was free, I love you, you love me. Let's put love together, come love sing, love sing, love sing, love sing.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of Love Sync Ministries Love Sessions, where our foundational scripture is 1 John 4:8. He that loveth not knoweth not God, for God is love. And as we always say right here, remember on Facebook to hit the like, hit the little love buttons, comment, make sure you comment, make sure you share. And on YouTube, make sure you do all the same stuff, but the main thing is to subscribe. Make sure you subscribe. When we get the first 100 subscriber, we will give you $100. And for all those that say, well, we ain't trying to make somebody else some money, so we'll run the random generator, and that way somebody from 1 to 99 will be able to win a chance to win $100. So you won't miss out. So make sure on YouTube that you do subscribe. Watch all the videos, all the love sessions, all the love talks, everything we got on there. Like we said, once we monetize this thing, you know what we're going to do? We're going to give the money back to you. All right. So you hang in there with me, and y'all do that on Facebook and YouTube with me. So in between time and meantime, I'm going to bring up a young lady we've been knowing for a little while, worked at the radio station at KHVN, and that's how we met. So ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together for my friend, Miss Lady Dion.
Hello. How's everybody doing?
What's going on, young lady? What you got going on over there?
Man, I tell you, work. Yes.
Man, let me see your hands. You ain't worked a day in your life. What are you talking about? Look at that. No calluses, nails done. Look at that. That's what I'm talking about.
Oh, but it don't mean I ain't been working.
Well, let me start you off like I started everybody else. So we're going to ask you 5 questions to get this party started. You ready for them? All right. What is the best social gathering that you've ever attended so far?
Not in the last year. I know you're not talking about the past year. Definitely.
The best social gathering you ever attended. If that's your first grade graduation, then that's what it is.
Actually, the best social gathering would probably be holiday gatherings. I love being with my family and close friends. I love being with them, and has always been the best and my favorite social gathering. It's always family.
All right. So what would be your spirit animal?
My spirit animal is a lion.
Okay. And then that brings me to, what month were you born?
August.
Leo. There you go. All right. What date?
August 3rd.
Okay. My daughter's August the 15th. Okay. So, and then what's your favorite car?
My favorite car is Mercedes, although I drive a Mazda, and at this point, she's my favorite.
Well, they both start with an M, so it's all
Hey,
good.
that Mazda is like a Mercedes.
All right, so now that we got that out the way, let's get into the meat and potatoes of this thing.
All
So
right. I don't want everybody to see my
Okay.
Christmas tree, but y'all gonna have to see it. So never mind.
So what I used to ask people when did they get saved, but see, once I found out everybody started getting saved at early ages, and so when it comes to my next question, it leaves a little gray area. So now I ask, when did you first get saved, and then when did you start taking the word serious and walking that walk?
I got saved at 22. I did not get serious about God until I was about 30,
Okay.
31, somewhere in there is when I really, really got serious about God. I found myself in a situation where I really needed God. I was living in, I won't say deplorable conditions, but there were some things going on, and the landlord was just kind of like playing around with me, and all he really cared about was his rent, and I needed to move, and I was a young mother, and things were kind of rough for me. I had been off for about almost a year with carpal tunnel and cubital tunnel,
Mm.
and money was short. And during that time of being out for almost a year, I took that time to get really close to God because I just needed that comfort to know that everything was going to be okay. And in the midst of during that time, God began to speak to me. He began to show me signs, and he began to he began to show me different things that I had never experienced before, visions and things of that nature. And during that time, I just began to listen after I stopped being scared. Because, when God starts showing you certain things, you get scared. So I must admit, I was scared at first because I wasn't used to it because I had never been that close to Him. And I began to pray more, read my Bible more. It was as if He was talking to me every time I would study. And I was studying because when I read something, if it intrigues me, I go digging because I want to know why. I'm just nosy like that. And the more I dug, the deeper I got buried into His word. And then He begins to manifest some things around me to show me that my word is real. And He began to teach me how to use the word to manifest some things that I needed done. And that's what I did. And I was able to move out of that situation with no problem. God began to open up so many doors. I went to the mailbox one day and a $13,000 check was sitting, a letter saying that I was awarded $13,000 for the cubital tunnel and carpal tunnel that I had. There was a check there and they were going to give it to me in small lump sums. And at first I was a little upset about that because I'm like, give me all my money. But it worked out
Right.
because right around that time I was released from the doctor to go back to work. So now I got 2 checks. Then all of a sudden I started getting child support checks out of the blue. Like I never had
Mm.
or had one of those. And so it was like God just started providing everything that I needed so that I could better myself and put something back as well. And the more He gave, the more I gave back because I believe in giving tithes. That's just me. Everybody don't. It's not your time or your toilet paper, but sometimes it need to be your funds. So that's just me.
Mhm.
And giving. And so what He gave me, I gave back. And the more I gave, the more He gave. I guess to show me that I can't outgive Him. I looked up and I had a new car. I was living in a very nice townhome, 3-bedroom townhome, uh, fully furnished, brand new furniture. And he showed me who he was. And
Mhm.
from that day forward, it was just no doubt. Why not trust God?
Mhm.
You know,
Right.
why not live for him? Why not tell others of his goodness? Why not, people, they have this thing that I don't want nobody in my business.
Mhm.
Why not tell of my testimony?
Right.
Why? Why not? You
Yeah.
know, it's my business, yes, but it's his business because he did it,
Right.
you know? Um, I had a mental breakdown last summer, this past summer, and I'd never experienced anything like that before. I never like literally lost my mind. It was just a compact of things falling just on me. And I
Mhm.
had been praying during that season. I just need a break. I need a pause. I need a pause. Well, guess what? Be careful what you pray for
Mhm.
because you get what you ask for. I got
Mhm.
that pause. And during that pause, I didn't understand it. I didn't like it because this thing right here wasn't right.
Mhm.
But in the midst of it, again, God comes in, He delivers, sets free, places me on a better path, helps me to see myself and begin to ask, what can I do to better myself? What can I do, to just be a better person? And what's my purpose? I don't think that we realize that we all have a purpose on this planet. We have a purpose. And I began to seek God for my purpose and to begin to meditate and study and read and really just I'm steady going after it because I know that there has to be a plan for my life because I'm still here
Mhm.
after all that I've gone through, after all that He's shown me He can do. I'm still here. So there had to be a purpose and a plan,
Right.
you know?
Right. Exactly.
So
And
why
so, right.
why not stay with God?
Exactly. And so now the reason I asked that question like I do now is because when I ask most people that, like the last guest, she said she got saved at 15, but she didn't really start taking the word seriously till she, like I said, again, late 20s, early 30s. And most people, because once we get saved, we get so zealous and everything that we go out there and start trying to save everybody. And we still haven't walked that walk yet. And so
Right.
we end up falling back or moonwalking, as I say. So now we're kind of on that revolving door. Yeah, we're saved, but we still go back into the world and do some things we know we ain't got no business doing.
Right, right.
Like I said, now you said you were saved and then you mentioned a child. So when did you have your child?
I had my first child at 16, my second child at 22, and my third one at 25.
Okay. So now let me ask you this then. So all these different times did you end up getting married or what?
My second child, I got married.
Mhm.
I got married.
Okay. And
For a
then
little,
the
for a little
third,
time.
and then the third child
I was already married.
is already married. So the 22 and the 25 you was married. The 16 was the one you wasn't married yet.
Right, right.
Were you still going to the church or in the church at that time?
I was going to the church actually where I grew up in. Uh, yeah, I was in church during that time.
And what I like to ask everybody is during that time, because we want to see what was happening in the church, what's the mindset of the church. So as a single mother now pregnant, so how were you treated at the church then?
My pastor, first of all, I was very, very active in
Mm.
church. I think if I'm remembering correctly, I taught Sunday school. Um, I was over the little kids choir, I think. And I also sung in the adult choir and the young adult choir. So I was pretty active and always in the church spotlight all the time. And so when I got pregnant and I found out I was pregnant, My mother was like, well, you need to call pastor. And so I'm thinking in my mind that, oh my God, they're going to do this stand up in front of the church thing. They're going to be like, you got to apologize. Because I had friends that had those testimonies. And I was like, oh God, this is just, but I called and First Lady answered and she was just, oh my God, she was just basically, she didn't say that you ruined your life, but her actions
Mhm.
were as if, oh my God, you just ruined your life.
Right.
And so when she put Pastor on the phone, he was so loving and so forgiving. And I said, I'm going to have to step down from my duties from doing certain things because I don't want to present the wrong message to the children
Mhm.
who look up to me.
Right.
He said, no, you're not going to step down from anything. He said, everybody make mistakes.
Mhm.
He said, I'm not going to do all of that standing you up in front of the church. And mind you, I'm the first teenager in my church to get pregnant.
Mhm. Uh-oh, you leading the way, huh?
Ever. Okay. And so he was like, no, I'm not going to do that. You're going to continue to do what you're doing for the Lord. He says, I love you. Sister Henderson loves you. Frank Henderson was my pastor at that time. And he said, um, and I'm not going to let anybody shame you. If
Mhm.
anybody steps to you and gives you any trouble, then you let me know and I'll take care of it.
Mhm.
And I continued on with my duties. And as I began, of course, to show or whatever, and whispers began to they began to talk or whatever. Um, he got in a pulpit and he preached on it.
Mhm.
And when he preached on it without ever revealing me,
Mhm.
then everybody else kind of backed down.
Mhm.
And he made sure he protected me. If I he literally protected me like I dare you to say something to him.
All right.
you know, I
Yeah.
dare you to say so. Don't this is a child.
Mhm.
And you're not going to cause this child to stumble in her faith, in her walk.
Right. Right.
God is love, and you're
Hey,
gonna love this child.
there you go. There you go. Then that's what I like to hear. That's what it's all about right there. Because just like my last guest, same kind of something like that similar happened. And so that's why I asked that same question, because I want to see who is actually showing God. Who is our scripture, like I say, is our foundation of scripture is 1 John 4:8. He that loveth not knoweth not God, for God is love. So who is actually showing God's love? And
Right.
because now you and her were the first stories that I've heard where the pastor and the church showed you love, and that way that kept you close to them versus the judgment and the condemnation to make you run away. So I'm
Right.
glad of that. But now I have to ask you though, but when you first talked to the first lady and she said what she said before you talked to the pastor, how did that make you feel though?
I felt like a failure. I felt like, I mean, I was already feeling like I failed everybody, my mom, my family, and I felt like I was in trouble. Like,
Mm,
oh my, I'm in trouble. I felt like I had failed everyone. I didn't know. To be honest, at 16, I didn't have any hopes and aspirations. I was just trying to graduate because I
mm,
was tired of going to school. I knew I was going to graduate and I knew I was going to get a job. That was it. I didn't think about college. I didn't care. That was it, you
mm,
know. So I can't say that I had all these hopes and dreams and aspirations because I didn't.
mm,
I was 16. I was just trying to graduate. I just want to get out of school.
mm, mm.
And I just felt like, oh my God, I'm not going to be able to graduate. I'm not going to be able to do anything. And literally, I felt like I had ruined my life. I even had family members that were like, oh my God, you're going to be living in the projects and you're gonna have a man that's gonna beat you every day upside your head. And I mean, it was torture. I had one of my relatives was telling my dad to whoop me. I needed a whooping, whoop the baby out of me. My dad was like, "What? No." I had her when I was 17. How am I gonna whoop her and whoop the baby out of her? No. Did nobody whoop me? So I mean, I was surrounded. My village, they were upset, and some of my villagers were very negative, but overall, my village leaders surrounded me with pure, genuine love and encouragement. And I superseded everything everybody thought that I was going to be. I don't live in a mansion, but I look around my apartment and it's pretty nice. Some people say, well, how come you don't own a house? I don't own a house because I haven't bought one. Because I haven't bought one yet. But you live and you learn, and that's what I've been doing. I've been living and I've been learning.
Right. Well, and I'm happy to hear that, because that's one of the main things that I've always seen. And I guess sometimes it could be how the older generation was. And I guess that's what I grew up on. It was a lot of judgment and condemnation. So when stuff like that happened, you end up getting ran out the church. And then even if you stayed, you didn't feel like you were loved in a place that you were supposed to be coming to get that love. You know what I'm saying?
You were labeled as the fast little girl or the mannish little boy.
Exactly.
Put those labels on you.
Yeah. And so it would almost be the same thing. Like, just if you was a young person in the school and all the teachers passed the word, that's that little knucklehead there. And then you get treated different from the rest of the kids, because like you said, you've been labeled something right there. So now, instead of you feeling love coming from people, you feel like I said, the little judgment and the little condemnation coming from them, because they treat you with a whole different attitude than the love that they're supposed to be treating you with. So I'm glad that you didn't get that. And like I said, since the word says that love covers a multitude of sins, so all those that were thinking like that, and with your pastor being the head and him showing you love, aka God, like I said, so that oversaw and superseded all the negative, because that love covered you through all that. So so hats off to that pastor for doing and showing God to you instead of the stuff that everybody else always do. So because if you would have listened to other people and those normal whispers and judgment and condemnation, like you said, ain't no telling where you would have ended up, because you would have thought so lowly of yourself that anything could have happened.
Exactly.
So now that you have 3 kids now, and I take it now.
I have 4.
Oh, 4? Okay. Well, you only
I dated a young man who had a daughter.
Oh.
And her mom left her with her dad. And so he and I dated for a very short period of time, but I fell in love with the child. And I was allowed to be in her life and mother her.
Okay.
And that's my baby. Okay. I didn't give birth to her, but that's my baby. So I had 3, but I raised 4.
Okay.
I do everything I can not to leave her out. So I have 4.
Okay. And so on the marriage, what's your status now?
I am going through a divorce.
Oh, hate to hear that. So now, see, that's why I basically asked the same question, but everybody's story is different. So now, as a woman of God, going through the church and going through the things that you've gone through, so how did this situation, how do you feel? How do you deal with that right now as a woman of faith? Hey, wait a minute. I got kids with this person. We got married. We supposed to be in love. And now what's going on? How do you deal with that?
I'm not divorcing my children's father.
Oh.
We have divorced. This is my second marriage.
Okay.
Yes. And we shouldn't have, he would agree with me, we shouldn't have never gotten married. We were childhood friends, and we hadn't seen each other for a long time. And we both were coming out of long-term relationships or dating somebody, and did not end up marrying those people, and ran across each other, and we started seeing each other, and he was like, I don't want to let you go. I want you to be my wife. And I'm like, well, I'm 40 some years old and I'm probably not going to be nobody's wife. So I might as well be yours. you know, and we got married.
Right.
I had a lot of things at the time going on that led up to the nervous breakdown, the mental breakdown, and then getting married just kind of added to that a little bit. So yeah, we got married, but we're very cordial. We talked last night. We don't talk often, but we did talk last night, just to discuss where we were in the divorce proceedings. But we're very cordial. We are still friends. We will always be friends.
Mm-hmm.
We've been friends since I met him when I was 13. So we will always be friends, but we both definitely agree that we should not have been husband and wife. But when you are lonely or you think you're lonely, I didn't think that I was lonely, but I think he thought he was lonely. I was just like, this might be my last chance. Let me jump in here and get it. And I'm being real. I'm just trying to
be real.
I'm like, let me go ahead and jump in this because hey, this might be my last chance. Let me go on and jump in here and do this. And I did. And as time progressed, we saw that although we were great as friends, we were very uncompatible as husband and wife because I was raised one way, he was raised one way. I lived life one way, he lived life a different way. And where I'm like, my faith would kick in, his doubt would kick in. Where I'm like, let's pray about it. And he had a whole nother mindset. So we differed on there. And then he felt like the more turmoil in the relationship, the better relationship was. And I'm like, I'm peaceful, I'm laid back. Don't stir my inner lioness.
Right.
Let her rest. And my personality is definitely like a lioness. I'm real chill. But once you get to messing with me, it's a whole other game. And so I think I became boring to him, I think. Because I'm chill. I'm not a clubber. I don't want to get out there and kick it every time Friday come. Oh, it's time to go. That's not me. Quarantine ain't bother me. I'm good. So being in the house is what I do. I get out when I want to get out. But he was used to going out and doing his thing or whatever, and it just didn't work out.
Now, I'm going to ask you something that, since I've been listening to you, some other people probably thinking the same thing. So how would you answer this for them? So, okay, so hey, you say you read the Bible and you pray and all that kind of good stuff, and then here you go when that man was lonely and all that kind of stuff. Then you just telling me that you just looking for a husband, so you went on ahead and settled for this man and all that kind of stuff. So how you a woman of faith and you let all that stuff happen to you? What you got to say to people like that?
I'm not perfect. I'm not perfect. I never said. I want everybody to understand that when you go to church, when you read your Bible and so forth and so on, it does not make you prone to life. You still have your own free will. You still have your own, and I can hear him in the spirit right now. Well, how come you didn't pray? How I did? Again, how many times have you not prayed? See, we quit the point, but we don't ever point at ourselves, at the mistakes we made. And it gets to the point to where they were getting ready to stone the woman who had committed adultery, and Jesus stepped in and said, let one person who is without sin cast the first stone. How you gonna stone her when you all jacked up? So how you gonna question or judge me when all y'all all jacked up? That's what I
Yep. And so and that's the thing. And see, that's what we have to get out of as supposed to be children of God. Because if we're supposed to be the thing that God is love. And what we're supposed to understand is that we're not a judgmental, condemning type people, but a loving people. So just like when you were pregnant and your pastor loved on you, that's the same thing we're supposed to do with all our brothers and sisters, is love one another and stop. It's just like these ratchet shows. It's like I want to see other people be either worse off or acting a more fool than I do. And as long as I can see that, then I feel all right about how I act up.
Mhm.
So if I can point out your mistakes and your faults, then I don't feel so bad about mine. Instead of just flat out loving yourself enough to allow yourself to make mistakes and then still fall back to God and on his word. And then once God picks you up and lifts you and carry you through that stuff, then when you see another sister or brother fall, then you do the same thing to them that God did for you, and you be God to them, aka love. And that's what we need to work on right there.
Exactly. We until we learn how to love each other, we're gonna always be a world of messed up people. People say the world is messed up. The world is fine. We're the ones messing up the world.
Right.
Exactly. It's our actions. It's the way we treat each other.
Mm-hmm.
We are the problem. The world is absolutely fine. If we would leave it alone, pay attention to it, and take better care of it, and then love each other, we probably would be in the harmony that God intended for us to be in the beginning.
It's called heaven on earth. That's what that is right there.
Exactly.
Okay. So now your kids, are they like are they a mixture of boys and girls, or all boys, all girls?
I have 3 boys, 1 girl.
2 boys and 1 girl. So now, what I want to ask you now. So now, as a woman of faith, and you walk in your walk, of course, you're gonna make mistakes. How do you be the example of a child of God to them? Because each one is different, because your daughter's going to see you in one way and your sons are going to see you in a different way. So how do you walk that line in faith to be the example to your daughters and what she needs to be for herself, and also what she might find in a man, and then for your son, the example of a woman that he should be looking for as a woman that he wants to marry? So how does your walk help you to try to navigate that between daughters and sons?
My oldest son is married. He's been married about 5 years, going on 6. My daughter is soon to be engaged.
Okay.
We waiting on the day. She don't know, but we know. I hope she ain't watching. She ain't watching. But yeah, she's about to be Mrs. Somebody later on, pretty soon, coming up. And my 2 younger sons, they will tell you, all of my kids will tell you, call my mama, she gonna tell you, did you pray? These are my things. When people call me now, because I had to set some boundaries, because I was misfixed in my lifetime, my past lifetime, you was misfixed. And so now I'll ask you these questions. Did you pray? Do you journal? Do you meditate? Because you pray about it, you let it go. If you just can't let it go and it's just running around in your head, then you write it down. And if it's still messing with you, go meditate, clear your mind. Speak some affirmations over yourself. Put yourself in another mind frame. And they'll tell you, that's what I will tell them. They'll tell you, my mom gonna say pray. I heard my youngest son talking to my godson, and he was dealing with some things. And he was like, see, man, what you need to do is you just need to pray. You need to pray about it. He was really in there struggling, trying to minister to him a little bit. And it was a struggle for him. So I had to jump in and kind of help him out a little bit. But my kids will tell you in a minute, they're not perfect. They just like their mama. But they will tell you. My daughter said it hurt her fiance to be brought in the new year praying
Mhm.
because they were just glad to have. She dealt with COVID last year and she got very, very sick. And he risked his own health and life to take care of her.
Okay.
And I mean, as far as leaving his apartment and staying there with her the total time she was sick. I mean, and she was sick. She ended up going to the hospital like 3 or 4 times, and they kept sending her back home. But I mean, they will tell you, you got to pray. You have to pray about everything. You cannot live this life without consulting God. I can't. I really can't. You can't live life without consulting God. You have to consult God. And I mean, some people call him whatever they want to call him, the universe, the energy, all kinds of, they call him everything. But at the end of the day, he's still God. By
Exactly.
no means whatever name you feel like you want to call him. The higher power,
The man
God,
upstairs, all that.
man upstairs, you still got to consult he whom you cannot see, but you know he exists. The I am that I am, the beginning and the end. You still got to consult the Alpha and Omega, period.
Mhm.
You cannot live this life. When you scared, what you do?
Mhm.
Even if you don't believe in God, oh Lord, you call on him.
Right.
You call on him. Even when you excited, woo, thank you, Jesus. Even if you ain't saved.
Mhm.
You know what I'm saying? So you can't live life without including the creator into your space, your life. You know, I invite him in every morning. You know, my kids was having a debate this morning about whether or not I was a morning person. And I said, I'm not a morning person. And he said, but mama, you get up at 5 o'clock in the morning to pray. I say, yeah, but I get back in the bed. I just, because that's my commitment.
Mhm.
We don't want to commit. We want God to do for us, but we don't want to commit to God.
Right.
You know, and that's my commitment is to get up and show gratitude. I don't really ask for much, you know,
Mhm.
unless God lay things on my heart while I'm down in prayer. But for me, it's about being grateful for what he has done and grateful for what he's going to do. It's about showing gratitude. So my prayers are more thank you
Mhm.
than gimme, gimme.
Right. Right.
You
Exactly.
know,
Exactly. Exactly. So I want to get serious with you now. So in this age of, like I said, all this depression and everything that's going on, and you've already mentioned that you had the mental breakdown. So explain to everybody kind of like what led up to that and what happened, and then how you brought yourself back out of it, or whatever you had to do to get back on track again.
in 2016, my whole life changed. My favorite uncle was diagnosed with cancer, and he was my Superman. Yes, I have a dad and a stepdad, but he was my Superman. I grew up in the house with him. He was everything for me. You know, he rescued me when my daddies couldn't. And he was diagnosed with cancer. He didn't have any children. His wife had recently passed, and he made me his power of attorney. And I had to make life or death type decisions in regarding to his health and his health care. And so that changed my life. That's a lot on a person. You may not think it is, but it's a lot. So, I mean, I had to really kick prayer into a high gear during that time. And shortly after that, um, what was supposed to have been a surgery, a mild surgery, ended up putting him in rehab centers, and from a rehab center, permanently into a nursing facility until he passed away. Um, After that, that was in 2016 and 2017 toward the end. My sister, who had been molested by my mother's pastor for several years, decided that she would come out about what had happened to her. And when she did that, excuse my French, hell broke loose. And my mom chose to support her pastor and not my sister. Well, I chose to support my sister. So therefore, I got tossed in the bucket of being cut off or cut out. And so I haven't seen her since 2018. We don't talk. I tried to call her about a month ago. She did not answer the phone. So I'm dealing with that. Okay. And then a long-term relationship that I was in that I wanted a little bit more marriage did not turn out that way. And so I ended up walking away from that relationship. And that was kind of bothering me a little bit. And my oldest son got into some issues dealing with that. The whole time my uncle had to have 2 surgeries. So I'm dealing with that. And my youngest child was getting ready to graduate and trying to get him ready for, adulthood and living by himself without me, without my guidance. I'm trying to deal with that. And my job was transferred from one department under another department. And I'm dealing with that change. And somewhere up off in there, some things were being said about me that I was not fully aware of that weren't good, which caused me to be put in a bad light with my new manager. I'm dealing with that. Then I ended up getting demoted and my pay cut by 8%. And I had to deal with that. Now that part really hurt. But before that, I had then by then I think I was engaged to the husband I'm divorcing now. And we ended up getting married somewhere in 18, shortly after my uncle passed. And shortly after I seen my mom, after not seeing her for about a year or two, probably for about a year, it had been a year. And it was just a lot of different things going on. And to top it off, the pandemic hit. I'm immunal. I have a autoimmune disease called rheumatoid arthritis and something else I can't pronounce. So I don't know how to pronounce it, but it affects my joints and my muscles and things of that nature. So they're telling me, listen, Miss Taylor, you can't get this stuff because if you get this stuff, like you're going to die because you don't have an immune system because we're killing it off so your immune system will stop attacking you.
Mhm.
Dealing with that now, in a sense, I'm not gonna lie, the fear.
Mhm.
And I'm praying and I'm trying to keep my head above water, dealing with all of the things that I thought I dealt with, but I didn't deal with. I just kept going. I was just going through the motions. This happened. Okay. I never dealt with anything.
Right.
I just kept going. Because that's what you do, right? Strong black woman.
Mhm.
You just keep going. You don't let nothing get you down. You don't let them see you sweat. You don't let them see you cry. You pray and you keep going. That's what they teach you, right?
Right.
Keep going. You pray about it. You read your word. Go to church. Then let's talk about church. Stuff started going down at church. Somewhere up off in there. And it got worse. It got worse. So now I don't have the support of my church family. Because they all looking at me like I'm cockeyed and crazy. Because the moment I said, no, I'm not doing that, then there goes that relationship. And all I'm needing is a pause. Like, let me catch my breath. Because in my mind, too many things were happening back to back to back to back to back to back. And I just kept going. Just kept going. I'm praying. I'm reading my Bible. I'm having faith. I'm crying my way through, clawing my way through, and things are steady happening. And so now you're at the point like, God, what are you trying to tell me? Because whatever it is, here I am. Here's my ear. Tell me, what is it? That's me. To me, that's being mature. When something like that keep happening to you back to back to back to back, you better stop and ask God, yes, Lord, what's going on? Yes, you got me. What? And then the last thing that just kind of like pushed me on over the edge is they ended up putting me on a performance plan at work. The lady literally lied on me and just, I'm not going to say I wasn't making any mistakes because I was making mistakes, but I had all these things going on. And my mind was like this.
Mhm.
And I'm just steady trying to go through it. And one of my close friends, she told me, she said, I think you are dealing with depression and anxiety. And I was like, no, I'm fine. I'm okay. I'm okay. I just kept saying, I'm okay. I'm gonna be all right. Girl, I'm gonna pray about it. It's gonna be okay. God gonna fix it. And I just kept going. I just kept going. I'm praying. I'm steady, doing what I've been taught to do. I'm staying strong until I was hit with that. And that broke me. All of a sudden, I'm in pain every day. I'm crying for no reason. I don't know why I'm crying. I'm freaking out. I'm going off on people. And my whole personality changed. And I became very withdrawn. I don't want to go nowhere. I don't want to talk to nobody. I don't want to nothing. Because at this point, and I'm married to somebody that I don't want to be married to, shouldn't even been married to. He don't know what to do.
Mm.
He don't know to pray.
Mm. Mm.
So he not praying. Here I am unequally yoked in this relationship, and I got all this stuff going on. And I snap just like that.
Mm.
Like a twig in the wind. Snap. Just like that.
Mm.
And I went to the doctor. Well, after I went off on my boss in a meeting, I let her have it real good. And it wasn't good. I let her have it. The HR lady called me back and said, I know this is not you. I want you to call this number. And it was the EAP, Employee Assistance System Mentor Program that they have. And I called them, and I had called them before several times and never got the help that I needed. And that was the one time, this is when I know God stepped in.
Mhm.
And when he stepped in and the person that answered the phone did her job. She assessed me.
Mhm.
She gave me 3 names and 3 numbers, but she only called one of those names. She said, this is who you need to talk to. And I ended up calling that particular therapist. And that therapist turned out to be none other than what? A pastor.
Mm.
And he was the best therapist ever. I mean, it was like he slit me open and started digging stuff out and making me deal with it, and kind of coaching me through, but forcing me to, you got to deal with this stuff, girl. It's going to kill you.
Mm-hmm.
And it was only 10 sessions. He got me as far as he could. Of course, I had to get a psychiatrist because I also had to be medicated. Some of the medicines that I was given were, I guess, addictive. And so I didn't want to be on those. So I had to end up getting into some other therapy. And so my psychiatrist suggested that I admit myself into a mental hospital.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, what? Am I that crazy? I guess I don't know. I'm crying. And I'm thinking, because I'm thinking, okay, so this is like the flu, I chilled a couple of times and you all right. And I started asking the question, so how long is this going to last? And like, ma'am, you've been dealing with this all your life.
Mm-hmm.
This is deeper than what you think it is.
Mm.
You have to. So my last session, he was like, I really want you to consider calling that hospital.
Mm.
And I was like, I said, but I thought I was okay. And he was like, Camellia, which is my real name, I need you to make that appointment. And so reluctantly, I did. I had a friend tell me, it may be good for you. You'll get to be around other people and hear their stories and so forth and so on. So I did. I went and I was put on, as long as you're not suicidal, they
Mhm.
put you on what they call inpatient, outpatient, meaning you're there all day, but you get to go home in the evening and go home and sleep in your own bed.
Okay.
So I said I wasn't gonna kill myself or nobody else because I was there in the beginning. But the
Mhm.
first therapist kind of pulled me from that. Um, and so I'm in therapy, and it's group therapy now, not individual therapy. And some of the things that we focused on in there were music therapy, um, mindful meditation, and spiritual
Mhm.
therapy. Music therapy was my break because I sing. I love music. All my kids are musicians. So that was my breaking point um, with music because I had stopped listening to music. I stopped watching TV. I stopped reading. I stopped everything. I was doing nothing but sitting up almost 24/7, just in my own little cuckoo world. And I started, that music kind of helped break me through some things, different songs that he would play. Um, some was gospel, some was just very motivational songs like Isn't She Lovely? You know, and then we went on to the mindful meditation and sound therapy was kind of coupled with sound therapy. And I don't know if you're familiar with that or not, but it's just basically bells or calming sounds of nature. And we would go through that and then we got to spiritual therapy, and that's when prayer was introduced, and so we began to pray, and then that going through those three steps, I was able to get a breakthrough, and I began to kind of wake up and shake the scales off a little bit, and the blinders of depression and anxiety began to kind of pull back, and they challenge you to continue these things when you go home. So I would force myself to listen to music and force myself to pray and try to learn how to meditate because meditation is just making your mind basically quietening your thoughts. Mind you, my thoughts were like this in my head. They were just everywhere. I couldn't focus for nothing. Like people were driving me to the store because I couldn't focus to get there. I might miss an exit. That's how bad I was. I had 24-hour care, period, to make sure that I wouldn't hurt myself and that I wouldn't wander off and go hurt somebody else. That's how bad I was.
Yeah.
It was
So
bad.
man, yeah. That's rough right there. Well, hey, I'm glad that like I said, that at least you listen. Because like I said, some people don't listen. Like you said, ain't nothing wrong with me either, and they don't go get the help. And then, like I said, eventually they end up either hurting themselves or hurting somebody. So at
Right.
least you listen and you got your stuff together. And so I'm proud of you for that. And for not only just for you, but like I said, for your family, for your kids and everybody, if you stayed in there so you could turn yourself around. And that right there is what I tell people, like what we say at Love Sync, you got to love God, love his word, and love yourself. And you
Right.
love yourself enough to get yourself back healthy again. And that's the
Right.
main thing right there. Because if you don't get healthy, then how can you do what God has called you to do when you sit up in like I said, in the mental health and you're not being able to be used at all because
Exactly.
the right help you.
It's
But you love
like how can you can't be anything for anybody until you've been something to yourself. And it's one thing that God told me when my ears popped back open, and he said, Camellia, you want everything to be easy.
Mhm.
And I said, God, you got me spoiled like that. Because I could pray and God moved.
Mhm.
He said, this time you got to work for it. And I have to work for it.
Mhm.
I get up at 5 a.m. Yeah. And I'm down on my knees and I'm seeking him. And I read my devotionals and I do my meditations
Mhm.
because I got to work for it. I have to. I've dedicated that. God is now a part of my system. You know, I have to plug in. I'm not perfect. I ain't even trying to be. I just don't want to be that no more.
Right. Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
And I gotta stay in a place where I can connect and I can hear. You know,
Mhm.
like earlier, he showed me an open vision of my grandmother, and I was asleep and I dreamt of her, and then an open vision. So now I know when I finish this interview, I need to call my grandmother.
Mhm. Okay. Well, we ain't gonna keep you much longer because I want you to call Granny too and tell Granny I said hello. So that's the case. If that's the case, let's go ahead and bring this up and let everybody know what's going on with that right there.
Okay. That is Cafe Conversations. I am the creator, content creator, host, producer of Cafe Conversations. It is a podcast show that you can listen to on any major podcast platforms, and that's Pandora, iHeartRadio, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Stitcher. My platform is anchor.fm/Cafe Conversations. And it's a lot of great conversations on there with a couple of local artists, a couple of people with great testimonies. We talk about relationships, mental health care, self-care. A lot of people don't take care of themselves. Self-care, um, great interviews with some young people with some of the things that they deal with, being teenagers or young adults. Some really great conversations on there. You should check some of them out.
Okay, great. So now, besides that, if what's the best way somebody can contact you if they need you to speak on the testimony you just gave? Because I'm sure after everything that was just said, because I ain't even know he's gonna get into all that. I was like, what? You know, I'm about to call somebody right now. But how can somebody get a hold of you if they want you to come speak to a women's group or any kind of group in regards to mental health and anything else?
They can reach out to me through Facebook. I am Dion on Facebook. I don't know my Facebook name. Contact you. How about that?
It was Dion.
It's Dion on Facebook, and just reach out to me. Hit me up in the inbox, or you can contact Daryl, and Daryl will direct you to me. But yeah, that's that.
And one more time, give them all that information on your podcast, because I know we mentioned it, but you got so many of them platforms that they can get on. Name them all for them one more time. The name of the show and how they can reach it.
The name of the show is Cafe Conversations. You can, again, if you are an Apple user, you can find it on Apple Podcasts. Android user is Google Podcast. I'm on Spotify, Pandora, iHeartRadio, Stitcher, all of them.
Okay.
All of the major podcast platforms, or you can literally Google Cafe Conversations and you will get to me.
Exactly.
And there is you can also hit me up in my email. It is Cafe Conversations with Lady D at gmail.com. Again, it's Cafe, CAFE, Conversations with the whole word, WITH, Lady D at gmail.com.
Yeah, I was ready for you to try to spell conversation and mess it up.
Yeah, you can find me Conversations with an S. Yes.
She said Cafe Conversations, CAFE with. All right. Well, I appreciate you jumping on with me today, lady. You was a great interview. I mean, you just stay blessed. Keep doing what you're doing. Keep doing what God called you to do. as the old man back on the radio when we had our KBN show, the old guy that was like 103. Just stay on God's side and everything gonna be all right.
Joe Bagby.
This was one of our guests. He was older than Joe.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
You remember what that man's name was?
I know.
Yeah, he about 103 when he came on, man. He's so you know. But he said, we said, how long? He said, how you living that long? He said, hey, I just stay on God's side. That's all you do right there. Hey, that's all you say that. Hey, you can't say nothing else besides that, then.
Okay, you keep him on your team, you're gonna always win.
And I'm telling you, the best coach to have, owner and everything.
All right now.
So once again, y'all put your hands together for my friend, Miss Camelia Taylor, aka Lady Dion. So you take care of yourself, lady, and we'll talk to you again.
All right.
All right, man. So, ladies and gentlemen, that was her, Miss Dion, as she called herself. So, again, you guys, this is the second interview of the day. I got one more coming up at 4 o'clock. So y'all come back, check me out at 4 o'clock with my gospel artist, Mr. Lester Sojourner Newsom. Been knowing him since high school and moved down here and end up seeing each other here in Texas. So y'all come back at 4 o'clock for that. In the meantime, between time, like I said, this has been Brother Darryl McGriff with Love Sync Ministries. And let me go ahead and tell you once again, hit me up. If you're on Facebook, make sure you like, subscribe, share the videos, leave comments. And then on the YouTube side, make sure you do all that same stuff. But the big thing over there is to make sure that you subscribe, watch those videos, all the love sessions, the love talks with me and the wife from back in the day. Do all that stuff. We got to get the viewers up and we got to get subscribers up so we can start giving away that money. Right now, for the 100 subscriber, $100. And we're going to run the random generator to run a number 1 through 99 to give somebody else $100. So y'all get on that. And also, when you do the subscription on YouTube, make sure that you put it on public so I can see you. If you don't put it on where I can see you, then when it comes to winning that money, I can't do nothing for you because you didn't put it on public so I can read your name. So again, until then, remember to always walk in love. Why? Because you might be the only love that anybody has seen, even their entire life. So until next time, or until 4 o'clock, I'll see you then. This is Brother Darryl McGriff, Love Sync Ministries. This is Love Sessions. And remember to constantly and consistently